Is up, everybody? Chris from Midlife Crisis Media here with part one of my Sony PlayStation 3 Video Game Collection 2023 live stream. Oh boy, this console. Yeah, I have probably way too much in the way of accessories and whatnot. But how's everybody doing tonight? I'm absolutely surrounded. Like, just off screen, you can't see it. I'm absolutely surrounded by PlayStation 3 stuff. Woo, this console. Anyway, so before we get started, what is up, Hunter? Your body is ready. Okay, Reggie. How's it going? So let's talk about my history with this console. I do this at the beginning of every one of these, the new console live streams. When I start a new console, I talk about my history with it in the first episode. So PS3 was weird. I was a huge PlayStation 2 fan, obviously. PlayStation 1, like, I'm a fanboy. Like, even though Xbox is cool and all, I like it. Nintendo is cool and all, I like it. Like, PlayStation was the one that was constantly surprising me. PlayStation 1 was the one where I was like, you guys have no business being in the market. Like the same way I was with Microsoft when the Xbox came out. And it surprised the hell out of me, and I loved it. So I was super excited for the PS2. PS2 constantly surprising me with the way the games, the way that they were doing things. All of a sudden, there's a hard drive for the console. They're always improving it, making, like, over the years, it would just get better and better. So I was super excited for the PS3, except the price. So, yes, Hunter, you are correct. When it came out, when the original PlayStation 3, the fat PlayStation 3 was announced, it was, I do believe, $600. It was either $500 or $600. I think it was $600, and it was completely backwards compatible. You could play PlayStation 2 games on it and PlayStation 1 games on it. So essentially, what it was the PS3 hardware was in one side, and basically you had a small PlayStation 2 in there as well. And the PlayStation 2 is backwards compatible with the PS1, so it did double duty. It also was one of the first Blu-ray players on the market. When I did the Xbox 360 streams that I ended last week, Microsoft went with the HD DVD format. So two brand new formats came out to compete with DVD, which was ruling everything. So HD was the new big thing. Two companies wanted to make HD physical media. So you had Sony with their Blu-ray, and you had Toshiba with the HD DVD. Microsoft went with the HD DVD, and obviously Sony, because it's their device, it's their format. They built it into the PlayStation 3. So you have PlayStation 3 games, PlayStation 2 games, PlayStation 1 games that can all be played on this thing. Plus, you can also play not only DVDs and Blu-rays. And the thing that was even better was, it turns out that the PlayStation 3 was also the best Blu-ray player on the market. You're getting it for essentially free. The Blu-ray players were super expensive. Some were even more expensive than the PlayStation 3. So they were basically giving you a free Blu-ray player with the console. And it turned into, like, the PlayStation 3 turned into my entertainment hub. $600 for the 60 gig, $500 for the 200. I ended up getting the 60. PS3 and didn't get a 360 to 2012, and you're fat broke. Cheapest Blu-ray player at the time. Yep. Like, you're getting it for a steal on top of three consoles in one, essentially. So at the start, I was not interested because of the price. I basically said, yeah, you guys, like, you're shooting way too high. Because the PlayStation 2, I think at the time, was the most selling console. Like, it had the most amount of units sold ever. I thought at the time that Sony let it get to their head, and they were like, oh no, we've got all these PlayStation fans, they'll pay anything. No. What's up, Retro Coop? How's it going? So I kind of put off buying it for a year. And also, this was when MySpace was a big thing. I had a lot of fans, or not a lot of fans. I had a lot of friends and people that I had met through doing my film projects and stuff, and friends of those friends, like cosplayers and stuff, who were friends with me on MySpace. And a lot of them were, like, either pre-ordering PS3s or getting in line a day before in order to get one, only to sell it on eBay. It was the first time I saw anybody do the reseller thing that we all hate nowadays. And I was looking at people going like, look, I'm going to buy this PlayStation for $500 and I'm going to go and sell it on eBay for $1,000 because they're hard to find. They're hard to come by. Yeah, it was sold out for a whole quarter. Yep. I don't know if they just didn't, I don't think they anticipated like the amount that they would need, but this thing was a beast. It was heavy. And it was, like I said, it was super expensive. So I saw all these people reselling and I was like, I am not getting involved in that, like at all. I will wait. So I waited until 2007. So it came out in 06. I waited until 2007 and I bought the original PlayStation 3. I bought one off of eBay. The thing was, at the time when I bought it, the prices were coming down. People were selling. I got mine for, I think, $50 over what they were going for in the store. And it had free shipping. So I basically paid $650. It wasn't that big of a deal to me at that point in time because I will not say why, but I had a lot of disposable income for a couple of years, and that was during that period of time. So I was just kind of like, hey, I'm not paying $1,000, but basically what I'm paying is the console plus what I would be normally paying for tax and all that, and I'm just paying that extra $50. I'm like, I think I'm getting a good deal. So I got it and I hooked it up to my CRT TV, and I had already bought a couple of Blu-rays that I wanted to like compare what they look like compared to my DVD copies of said movies. So I bought Silent Hill, the original Silent Hill movie on Blu-ray, and I can't remember what the other one was. I bought two. And I remember I put on my DVD of Silent Hill through the PlayStation 3, and I was watching it on the TV, and I'm like, okay, that looks like what it normally looks like on my Blu-ray player. Put in the HD Blu-ray version, and I was like, you can tell it's cleaner and more crisp. It's the only thing was my TV couldn't handle it. It was like the TV would it would look really cool, but it was like everything looked like crispy. It was like there was like edges and stuff around everything, and it looked really weird. So I'm like, I think I need to get an HD TV as well, obviously. And I did. And that's when it took off. So got it after a year. Bought a few games. Didn't like a bunch of the games that I bought. I bought Folklore right off the bat. Didn't like it. Well, at the time I didn't like it. I was just kind of like, what is this? And it was the first game that I knew of that had like, from the start, there was DLC crap. Folklore is like an RPG, and you can buy all these extra characters and costumes and all this other stuff you can add into the game at an extra cost. And I was like, yeah, I don't like this at all. Like, why can't I just get the whole game? Nowadays it's commonplace, but I did not like that at all. So I was like, no, the hell with this. Phew, gone. Picked up Lair. At the start, Lair was basically released broken. It was supposed to use the motion controls that are built into the DualShock 3 to control this flying dragon. You're supposed to hold your controller, and by flying, the way you move your controller is the way the dragon moves. It didn't work like at all. I played it for 1 hour and I was like, nope, gone. It was not like, I was not impressed at the start. I was more impressed with my 360, which I had gotten a couple of months earlier. So I was like not into it at first. That's why I started to gravitate more towards the HD DVD side of things. Also on the Xbox, because I was using the Xbox 360 more often than the PS3 at the beginning because I was not impressed at all. Eventually, my attitude shifted. The PlayStation 3 started getting some excellent exclusives like Uncharted and stuff like that. And Uncharted kind of blew my freaking mind. Yeah, the Xbox had Halo 3, but they did not have Uncharted. And Uncharted was like the game for me at the time. I even invited over a bunch of students who had put out a feeler. They were doing some sort of a research project for their doctorate or something about violence in video games and attitudes about video games and the way video games can manipulate your emotions and stuff like that. So a friend of mine turned me on to this study that these people were doing, and I invited them over to my place. They bought us pizza. They brought prizes. We had to make a collage about, I think it was really abstract. It was kind of like the way video games bring out your emotions, like put that in a picture. And I did a picture of a loop-de-loop and a roller coaster and all the different emotional states that you can have, like anger. It was a picture of a guy going like that, and someone crying and someone laughing and all this. And I ended up winning out of like the 6 people I think that were there that night, my friends that I had invited over. and I ended up winning a what was it? An iPod, a really expensive iPod, which was kind of strange. And my game that I kept talking about, that was like the one that I felt like emotionally got me, was Uncharted. So that was kind of cool. Got yours in. Saw it pass by 3 to 4 months later, then bought it in retail. Yeah, got mine 2009 when they took out the backwards compatibility and lowered the price. Yep, that was the second model. Beginning of the good Blu-ray collection, good times. Yep, 1080p HD LCD was a game changer for the eyes. Hell yeah! From CRT composite to components. I remember playing GTA 4 on a 32-inch Toshiba CRT. Jesus, I could barely read the subtitles. That was the problem I had with the 360, because I bought Dead Rising and we were playing that on my CRT. Me and my buddy Charlie, and the subtitles were coming up were so small because they're supposed to be buffed up to a big HD TV. We were like, gotta use components, composites, all good. Yep. And it became my console. Like anytime a multi-plat would come out, it would be on the PS3. Oh, the other thing that I had a problem with at the beginning was, because I now owned an HD television, I was really starting to pay attention to what or like the resolution of things. So at the beginning, they were always putting the resolution, the highest resolution the game would go, on the back of the boxes of the 360 games and the PS3 games. And rarely ever did I see a PS3 game go above 720p. But I'd go to the 360 version and they would max out at 1080p, even if it was a multi-plat. So I'm like, well, I'm getting the better resolution on the 360. I'll buy that. Eventually, they stopped. Sony started releasing games in 1080p, and I started losing interest in the 360 because the better games are coming out on the better exclusives I felt were coming out on the PS3. So I started buying all the multi-plats regardless on the PlayStation 3. Only other problem I had with the PS3 was a lot of the bigger games required an install on the hard drive, which I did not like. I still don't like that it has to do that. Why can't it just run off the disc? But then again, these games have such high resolution now that I seriously doubt that a laser or disc, a disc laser could read stuff that fast to display it. Excuse me, I'm getting the hiccups for some reason. So there was that. I did like Grand Theft Auto 4. Everybody was telling me that it took like an hour to install Grand Theft Auto 4 on your PlayStation 3. And I was like, well, if I buy it, I'll just get it for the 360 because that console does not do that. That was the other thing. There was one more thing I was going to talk about, but it's not hitting me. I just had it before, and then I hiccuped, and I lost it. Damn it. It's going to drive me crazy now. The hard drives. Oh, and then I had an issue with my PlayStation 3. Yeah, my PlayStation 3 was my entertainment hub, and that's what I'm going to get at right now. So let's jump forward to 2011. I lose my job of 11 years at the beginning of 2011, right? So I now am in budget mode. I can't spend a lot of money because I don't have any money coming in. I basically got my last paycheck from my job. I got all of my vacation pay, which, since it happened at the very beginning of the year, I got all of my vacation pay in one paycheck, which was great. I ended up selling my video game collection that I had in order to pay the bills until I could get a new job. So at the time, like, I don't have money for frivolous things. The only thing I was really spending money on was like my Netflix account and my Hulu account. So I would have something to do at home. I would have some form of entertainment because I couldn't go out to see movies or anything like that. So my PlayStation 3, I was watching Netflix through my PS3, Hulu through my PlayStation 3, all of my Blu-rays through my PlayStation 3. And that basically kept me sane in the 4 months where I was unemployed. And then within the second month of my unemployment, my PlayStation 3 broke. I was like, well, I have all this extra time now. I'll play some of these games that I had started at some point at the beginning of having my PS3. I'll play them so I can beat them now that I don't have an excuse. I'm sitting around waiting for, jobs to call after I go out for all these interviews and whatnot. So I played through Resistance, and I was starting to play Resistance 2. I remember I put the disc in for Resistance 2. I turned around, went back to my couch, and when I went to look at my TV, the PlayStation 3 just shut itself off. And I could not turn it back on, and I couldn't get the disc out, and it basically shit itself. It crapped out. So I'm like, great. My entertainment hub is broken. I did not have a smart TV. This was like an original HD television before they added in all the smart things. I don't even think there was a smart TVs were out in 2011. So what do? I contacted Sony. I told them what happened, and they're like, well, when did you buy it? I'm like, well, I never actually bought it from a store. I bought it off of eBay. And they're like, well, you don't have a warranty, so it's going to cost like $250 or whatever the hell it was. I don't remember, $300. And I'm like, I don't have $300 to spend right now because I am broke. I am unemployed. But this is what's keeping me sane. Let's do it. So I basically put it on my credit card, which I didn't want to have to do, but I did. Sent it out through UPS, and like 2 weeks later, I got what I thought was my original PlayStation 3 back. They sent me another fat one, but it was not mine. It was like a brand new one. Only thing was, we're talking about the two different size hard drives that this thing came with. So you have the $600 60 gig one and the $500 20. So I had bought a 60 gig. The one that they sent me back was the 20. I was not happy because back then I didn't care if a game was digital or physical. I wasn't like actively collecting PlayStation 3 games. I just wanted to play games. So I had a shitload of digital games, DLC, all this kind of stuff on there, and the installs from other games. I had no problem with the size back then that I, with all these games that I had digitally and whatnot. But with a 20 gig, I could hardly have any of it. I could have a couple of games installed, like, from the disc, and maybe 2 or 3 digital games on there, and it was it. There was nothing. I get an update from some game or one of my apps or something, and I'd be like worried that I wasn't going to be able to fit it on there because there was so little space. So I contacted them. I'm like, I gave you a 60 gig. You gave me back a 20 gig. I want my 60 gig back, or I want a 60 gig back. And they're like, sorry, that's all we got. Tough. So I was really pissed at Sony for a while, but I had my entertainment hub back, so can't really complain. And then I got a job. It was great. So I've had that PlayStation 3 that I got back from Sony. I had that until about a year ago. I just did not want it anymore. I wanted to get the smaller one. It felt like I did not like that it was that small hard drive version of it. I wanted to get one with a bigger hard drive, and I ended up buying the second model off of eBay, off of some guy for pretty inexpensive. It was pretty inexpensive, and it had the biggest hard drive size. I can't remember what it is. I got it sitting right here. This is my current PlayStation 3. It is that Model 2. So it has most of the backwards compatible stuff taken out of it, but you can play PlayStation 1 games on this, which surprises me because I've done it multiple times. It is pretty cool. I don't remember what the size of the hard drive is on this. I don't know if I can see it on here somewhere. Then again, I couldn't read in here if I wanted to. But I want to say it's like 200 gigs or something, which is more than enough. Super slim, 500 gigs, and the disk drive has less moving parts. Yeah, my cousin had the one with the sliding door, but I don't like those kind of ones. I just kind of like inserting the disc. I always feel like I'm going to break it when I do the door sliding. I think my cousin actually did break his sliding door one by just pushing too hard on it. But anyway, that's my experience with the PS3. It's still one of my favorite consoles. I'm still actively collecting for it. I actually, when I was doing my Xbox 360 streams, what was it, last time? The video game collection stuff from last time, I actually went through my collection and picked out certain PlayStation or Xbox 360 games that were multiplats that I would rather have on the PS3 because I was running out of space on my shelving unit for the 360 games, and I had plenty on my PS3 shelf. So I actually have like most of the multiplats that I had on the 360 on the PS3 now. And like 4 of the Model 2s. Yeah, I like the Model 2 a lot. I like it way better than the fat model, the original one. So what accessories do I have for this thing? And I said I do have quite a bit. So we'll start off with the standard controller. This is the one that came with the console when I bought it off eBay. I sold my fat model to Church the Game Grinder because he wanted to be able to play PlayStation 1 and 2 games on it. And I was like, I really don't care. I have a PlayStation 2 that can play PlayStation 1 games, and I have the ability to hook it up through HDMI. I'm fine. I don't need the fat PS2 or PS3. I'm okay with this. Now this plays PS1 games too, so I'm okay. So yeah, you got your standard controller. And this is from, I bought this like back in 2007 when I got my PlayStation 3 originally. This is a 4-controller charging unit. You slot the controllers in and have this plugged in, and it will charge up all of your controllers at once. And whenever you have one in a slot, whatever slot you're in, it lights up with the corresponding light to tell you that it's actually being charged. And I still use this. It is still working. It's not an official, this is from Nyko. It's not an official Sony thing, but it still works fantastically. The only thing is I only have one controller now. I also still have in the box my original memory card adapter, which allows you to take memory cards from the PS1 and the PS2 and download the contents of your memory card onto the hard drive of the PS3. Which I thought was really cool that I was able to do that. So it kind of eliminates the need for a memory card altogether. So yeah, you just slot your memory card in here. It has a USB plug on the back. You plug this into one of the USB ports on the PS3, and you can download all of your memory from the card onto the console. It's fantastic. That was, I thought, like I said, I thought that was such a cool idea. It's like I don't have to keep all this extra junk lying around. It's all on one console. Absolutely fantastic. Like I was like, okay, Sony, your console may have costed way too much money, but you are making me happy. I'll close you up later. I also have an iToy camera. I think that's what they called it. I know they called it an iToy on the PS2. I think it was still called an iToy camera on the PS3. This came with a specific game that I will talk about later, but I have a separate one because of light gun games. I also have the Killzone 3 Move controller gun, and I also have Move controllers. These are actually the Move controllers for my PS4, but they are completely backwards compatible with the PlayStation 3. You just have to plug them into your PS3, and it will recognize them as PS3 controllers. If you want to use them again on the PS4, you just plug them into your PS4, and it'll re-recognize them as a PS4 controller. And you also have this Move. I can't remember what this is called. This has a specific name, but it's the movement controller. So it has a analog stick on here and a bunch of controls. And you're supposed to use this alongside a Move controller with some games. This will move you in the game, kind of like a nunchuck for the Wii, and this will do whatever you need it to do in the game. And when it comes to the gun, this... How do you get this out? God damn. Damn it. I can't remember how to get this out. We just pop it in? I think so. This is supposed to pop open. Well, whatever. This goes in here and makes it so the thumbstick sticks out so you can use it to control where you go in Killzone. And then this Move controller attaches here, and the camera will read where the gun aims because of the light on this. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty accurate. I have a lot of light gun games for this because it does not require a CRT. It can be used on an HD television, which is absolutely fantastic. I love my light gun games, and I can actually play them again, although not the classic ones like I would really like to. And I think that's it for peripherals. Oh, don't go into the light. No, don't fall. Okay, we're good. It stopped it. Take another drink. The orange button's on the side. Let me see. Well, I know this opens up the top so you can get the Move controller in there. mofo. Your ass. There we go. Now it doesn't want to close. Oh, do I have to hold it open again? I'm spending way too much time on this. Well, whatever. You get the idea. I'm not going to deal with it now. I'll put you back together later. So let's get into these games. I got plenty to talk about. So I've broken this up into 3 different episodes because I have a lot of games. I think I have more now for the PS3 than I do the 360 at the moment. So let's get into it. We'll start off with these James Bond games. There's a lot of James Bond games that came out during this this generation, and a lot of them, most of them, all of them are pretty good. So we've got Bloodstone, 007 Bloodstone. This is an original game, original story. It's not connected to any movie, although it does have Daniel Craig's likeness and voice in it. And it's an original story. It is actually pretty cool. It's a little short, but it's fantastic. It is a third-person shooter, and there's car segments and everything. It is super, super fun. The story is pretty good, too. It introduces a couple of new characters that I like and a pretty decent villain. It's neat. It's also like an in-between story after Quantum of Solace, but before Skyfall. So it's pretty rad. I like it a lot. And that brings us to 007 Legends, which essentially inserts Daniel Craig as Bond into older Bond movies in video game form. So you've got Goldfinger, Moonraker, Die Another Day, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and License to Kill. There was also some Skyfall DLC, which is actually the final level of the game. And because they hadn't finished it in time for this release, because this was supposed to be released in conjunction with the release of Skyfall, they were going to make you wait for it, but it was free from what I understand. Only thing was, I didn't get around to playing this until like 2 years ago, and by now, the Skyfall DLC has been completely delisted. So I've beaten what's on the disc in the way of the game, and I can't actually beat the complete game because I can't download the Skyfall DLC, which is the final stage. That's bullshit. Just put it all on the goddamn disc. But it's a first-person shooter, and it's actually pretty fantastic. It could have been better. There's a couple of janky bits, but I really, really enjoyed it. It does take some liberties with what happens in the movies, but it's really fun. I like it a lot. You only have Time Crisis 4 and The Gun, called it a day. There's a ton of stuff out there that's worth playing. You want House of the Dead 3 and 4. There's a hinged piece where the bone or the base of the navigation controller goes. Yeah, I know. I was trying to open it up. I couldn't do it, but I'll figure it out later. Actually, it's making me want to play some light gun games right now. My girl's sister gave me that game along with the PS3. Didn't finish it. Bloodstone, that is. Maybe I'll give more of a chance. Yeah, Bloodstone is fantastic. It is of those. Well, there's one more, and there's 007 Quantum of Solace. So I could not stand this Bond movie. It's the shortest Bond movie ever made, number one. And it's just, there's nothing going on in it. It is just BS. It's crap. I could not stand it. Could not stand it. But the video game of it is fantastic. It's actually starts off with you playing through the events of Quantum of Solace, and then halfway through, it flashes back to Casino Royale, and you play through Casino Royale's story. And then once that's over, you flash forward back to where you were in Quantum of Solace and finish it off and beat the game. It's pretty fantastic. It's a third-person and first-person mix, and there's some vehicle levels as well. It is pretty awesome. I like this one, I think, the most out of these 3. But don't get me wrong. Bloodstone is pretty fantastic, too, but Quantum of Solace was probably my favorite out of the 3. Surprises me to say that since I can't stand that freaking movie. What is up? What's up, Tyler? You never saw the movie? Yeah, don't watch Quantum of Solace. I thought it was terrible. Bought it on Blu-ray and didn't even watch it. My favorite Daniel Craig Bond movie, definitely Skyfall. Skyfall is absolutely fantastic from beginning to end. I think the way people talk about Star Trek movies, the old Star Trek movies, where it was like the even ones were bad and the odd ones were bad and the even ones were good. with that, it's like every other Bond movie was good. So it started off with Casino Royale. I really liked Casino Royale. Quantum of Solace, hated it. Loved Skyfall, hated Spectre. And then you've got No Time to Kill, which I thought was a mix of both. It was half good and half bad for me. But this is just me I'm talking about. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. Nothing much to do, just at work. Oh, man, I feel you. I'm on the late shift now, too, and it sucks. Hate it. So, after the Bond movies, we've got 3D Dot Game Heroes. This game is worth a mint now for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know if it didn't get a lot of copies released or what, but I bought this like on day one. I bought this through Amazon on day one because I thought it looked like a really cool and clever take on a Zelda game. It is. It's in 3/4 view instead of like the straight up, straight down view. And all the characters are made up of pixels, like actual 3D pixels. And your character ends up getting a freaking Buster Sword. The more you power up your sword, the bigger it gets, and the more it takes up screen size. It is like you can see a picture of it right there. Like your guy's sword is like 5 times the length of his body. And it's a really fun action RPG. I did not actually beat this one. It's pretty fantastic though, but I just, like happens with me usually, I'll start playing a game and then, oh, the new shiny over here. What's this? I'll play this now. But I was watching a bunch of people stream this on Twitch. I want to say one of them was Sir HC Man or Cirque Man. But I need to get back into it and finish it off. Maybe I'll try to beat it this year for the year of RPG thing that I'm trying to do. So I started accepting Daniel as Bond with Skyfall. Yeah, Skyfall is fantastic. It rose very high, but now it's down around 4. Okay, because I remember there was a point in time where 3D Dot Game Heroes was like over 100. I was like, why? Nobody ever talks about this game. Now everybody wants it. Same with like the Puppeteer. Whatever. Next up, we have Alice Madness Returns. This is a sequel to a PC exclusive that was American McGee's Alice, which was one of the few PC games I owned. I had gone to a Tower Records with some friends one night before going to see a movie, and they had all of these American McGee's Alice toys all over the store, and I thought that the designs of everything was awesome. Like the Cheshire Cat looked great. Alice was all demented, and she had like a bloody knife. You could see it right there. The Queen of Hearts, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, like everything was like this twisted, dark, Tim Burton-esque version of the characters that I remember from like the Disney Alice in Wonderland movie. And I bought them all. I was like, these are fantastic. I love the designs. I need them. And I want to play the game. The only thing was it was out on PC only. Well, then I eventually got a PC and it was one of the first games I bought. And it was a 3D platformer. Really hard to control with a keyboard as far as I'm concerned. But we got the sequel on the consoles, and it is definitely optimized for the consoles. It is pretty fantastic. It's a continuation. Like Alice came back from Wonderland. She's in a mental institution now, and she sneaks back in. I don't remember exactly what she was trying to do, but it's been a while since I played this. But the cool thing is, this actually came with, you can see it right there, the online pass to download a version of American McGee's Alice to play on your PS3 or your 360. Hells to the yeah. And I remember downloading it, and I was playing it with my ex, and she was watching me play it. She's like, this looks like it's really hard to control. I was like, yeah, it's a game designed for PCs. It was never released on a home console. So yeah, this is a little weird, but I was muddling through. But this is a fantastic sequel. I need to finish playing through it. The Todd McFarlane Alice figures. Yeah, hello. What's up, Stubby? Yeah, I wish I still had them. I got rid of them all. I used to have a ton of action figure stuff, and I got rid of it all. But I thought every single one of those things with like the designs were just absolutely fantastic. So I was like, I need to have those. They're so twisted. This was one of the first games I bought when I got back into collecting in 2013, beginning of 2014. And I got this off of Amazon for I think $4 brand new, and that is Anarchy Reigns. I still haven't played it, but I think it's a game show style game. It's basically like a 3D beat 'em up. I had to open it because I had dropped this at one point when I was moving all the games around in my game room, and the disc came loose, so I opened it up just to put the disc back, but I still haven't played this one. Excuse me. I probably should. It's a Sega game, so it probably won't be all that bad. Next up, we have Aquapaza. What is that? Aquapaza plus Dream Match from Atlas, and this is a one-on-one fighting game. And I picked it up because I saw this at the disc replay by my work when it was still open. And I just looked at it and I was like, that looks kind of interesting. It's a fighting game. Oh, wait, it's all like anime chicks. It might be kind of creepy. I don't know. But it's actually pretty fun. It's not as great as, like, say, Blaze Blue or Guilty Gear or anything like that, or even like Persona 4 Arena. But it's not too bad. I like some of the characters. I don't know if it's based on an anime or anything. I couldn't tell you. But it's not bad. But it's just like a female anime girl fighting game. And I need to go and grab something really quick. I'll be back in 30 seconds, everybody. Legit could not find this for a second. I'm like, where the hell did I put this thing? It's huge. How am I missing this? Turns out I threw it in my closet. So I picked this up at an out of the way half price books. It's in the one in the rich area that I talk about every once in a while. It's supposed to be a pseudo sequel to Mad World on the Wii. Oh, okay. Buffering, sheltering. And I remember seeing it there, and it was in the middle of COVID when everything was jumping up in price. And I remember seeing the specific thing there, and it was not expensive. They were not, and it was in a rich neighborhood. I'm surprised they did not jack up the price, but I was like, I'm going to buy this before they realize how bad they screwed up. I'm glad that I did. So we're talking Tunelico Koga. Knell of R Seal. I've never played one of these Tunelico games. I don't know how many there even are, but it's an RPG from NIS America. And the reason I wanted to buy it was the special limited edition version, and it came in this gigantic oversized box, and everything that it was supposed to come with is in here. If I can just remember how to open it. There you are. Open says neat. There you go. So it opens up like a book, and you've got the original soundtrack and this gigantic freaking hardbound visual book that has nothing but artwork and character bios, which is kind of cool. So it's like an extension of the instruction booklet, if this even comes with one. I don't know. But yeah, it's an RPG, and I've heard about these games. I think Pete Dorr talks about them quite a bit, or had talked about them quite a bit back when I first started watching the YouTube Retro Gamers stuff. Where's that soundtrack? There you are. And it got me interested, and I just never see these, like, ever. I've never seen an Tunelico game in person until I saw this one, and I was like, you know what? Not passing it up. It looks pretty cool, but I know there's multiple games in this franchise, and I've never played any of them, so I don't know if they're good or not. I will eventually find out, but that's just the game on the disc. Yeah, it does have an actual manual. Yeah, first time I saw it, and I was like, you know what? Not passing it up, because this is probably worth 3 times what they had it marked for. So I was, like I said, I was going to buy it before they realized their mistake. You know, my superhero comes back every once in a while, so I catch people slipping. Used to be on eBay. I'd go on eBay randomly in the middle of the night and see somebody selling something that normally goes for $100, and I'm seeing somebody selling it for 20. Okay, so next up we have Arcane Hearts 3 Love Max with like 15 exclamation points. Radical Reggie actually talked about this, I think, in one of the streams that we did together. When we're talking about pickups or fight. There was one we did about fighting, like our favorite fighting games. I don't know if it was that or if it was just one of the random recent pickup streams that we did. And it's another one-on-one fighting game that's like all anime girls. And there's also the original game is on the PS2, which I do own. I have never seen an Arcana Hearts 2 anywhere. I don't know if it's a PC game or if it's on some like weird ass Japanese console or whatever, but I've never seen it. Got a loose copy of 50 Cent Blood on the Sand at a pawn shop for $12 weeks before it went backwards compatible. Ooh, I actually have that one. I think on the I'm on the 360. Picked this one up, and I think I got this at a GameStop for literally $1. That is Armored Core 4. I remember I was going to my dentist after work one day, and I had like 45 minutes to spare, and there's a GameStop that is like right down the street. So I was like, I'll just go in there, look around, and I found a bunch of like PS3 games. I don't know if they were just trying to get them off the shelves to make room for the PS4 stuff, but there was a bunch of stuff that was just $1, and I bought a bunch of it. And this was one of them. So it's a gigantic mech game, and there's a brand new game in this franchise that just came out, and I'm really excited to play it. I was watching some footage of the gameplay, and it looks super fun. So I had to get that for $1 at least. It's worth like $75 now. Jesus. Next up, we have Army of Two and its sequel, Army of Two: The 40th Day. So you might notice a couple of weird logos on this one. So Army of Two is a co-op third-person shooter action game, kind of like Gears of War, but it's co-op, and you're supposed to play it co-op. I don't think you absolutely have to. It says number of players 1 to 2, or online 2 to 4. So it's not necessary. I'm assuming that the computer will play the second character instead of a human person. But I've never actually played these because I would like to play them co-op. So I'll see if I can eventually do that with a friend or something. And then there's the sequel, which I was given as a gift from a coworker of mine who was getting rid of a bunch of games from his collection. The thing is, he's German, and he's originally from Germany. He moved over here for work, and he's like, yeah, I don't have a use for a lot of these German games that I have anymore now that I'm buying all the American, the English language ones. Do you want it? And I'm like, PlayStation 3 is backwards compatible with, or not backwards compatible, it's region free. So it'll play foreign games from other countries, no problem. And I was like, well, what, is it all in German? He's like, no, it's in English. She's like, it's just that you can have the option of playing it in German, but the dialogue on the packaging is all in English. So it's not a big deal. So I was like, well, I don't have to pay for it. So why not? It was free. He just gave it to me to give it to me. So eventually I'll get around to playing those two games. Never played them back in the day either. Like if it was a co-op, like built in, like the game was supposed to be co-op, like Resident Evil 5, I was like, not interested. Like, I don't care. I just want my single player. And if it was online only, not interested. Single player. Armored Core games are so pricey now. I have a bunch for the PS2. Is it the PS? I think the PS2, and I have that, and I'm definitely getting the new one for the PS5. Now we have Ace Combat Assault Horizon. I didn't know this Ace Combat game existed. I don't know if it's considered a numbered, like if it's a part of the numbered series, or if this is just a spin-off or what. But I love my airplane combat games, my aerial combat stuff like Wing Commander and all that. So had to have that. I absolutely love the Ace Combat series ever since the original game on the PS1. So found this dirt cheap for like $5. So I picked that up. And then this one pisses me off. So I rented this from my local library because my work gave everybody library cards for the library by our building. And I would go there, and I did not realize that libraries rented out video games. I knew they had movies. I knew they had books, obviously. I knew the one that I used to go to when I was a kid had music, but I never thought in a million years I could get video games at a library, and it was free. So I ended up renting Asuras Wrath, and I really liked what I played. So I ended up going out and finding a cheap copy at Half Price Books, and I brought it home. And then once I got back into... This was like before I was collecting. I picked this one up. This is when I was just playing my PS3 whenever I could. And then when I got back into collecting, I started hearing stories about how the game is incomplete. If you want to beat the game, you have to buy this DLC that they released later on. And that has the end game stuff and like the rest of the game. So I own 3/4 of a game on disc, and I have to pay extra in order to actually finish it. Just kind of like that 007 Legends, which is some BS because guess what? The end game stuff I don't think is available anymore. So I can't actually complete it. That is a crock. I hate that stuff. Why do companies insist on doing that still to this day? It just ticks me off to no end. What's up, Peter? Dope Capcom needs a remaster with all the DLC. Damn right. How about just the entire game on disc? How about that? I'd be satisfied with that. I have a bunch of games in this franchise. I don't know if I'll ever get around to playing them, but I think they sound kind of cool. I remember, oh God, what was her name? There was this YouTuber that I got on my old show, Toasty, that I used to do with a buddy of mine. I don't remember what her name was. This is a long time ago. This is like 2013 or whatever. I have to look it up. If I only had this device that can tell me things that I need to know. Let's look it up. This will take less than, if my computer actually will cooperate, that would be awesome. But the game I'm talking about here is Atelier. I found out it is the way it's supposed to be pronounced, not Atelier. Atelier Miruru. The Apprentice of Arlen. So these are RPGs where you're playing as like wizard apprentices. They're all girls. And it's supposed to be pretty good. There's so many games in this franchise now, like a ton. I have the first, what is it? I can't remember what the name of those games are. Shit. The first 3 games came out on the PS2. I have all 3 of the games in that trilogy with that character. And then they started spinning off with all these other characters. There was one that came out called Atelier something in Logi. It was like 2 female characters, and that was the one that that other YouTuber that I had on the channel talked about. Let me see. Toasty. Watch, the moment I see her picture, her name is going to come flooding right back. Erica Zabo. Erica Szabo. We had her on talking about anime. And she reviewed Escher and Logi or something like that. Whatever. She said it was really good, but it was a little more complicated than it needed to be. But I found this at Half Price Books, dirt cheap, so I picked it up because I have those other 3 games on the PS2 that I wanted to keep in the collection. So I'm like, why don't I just keep going with it? And then I found out how many there are in the series, and I was like, you know what? Probably good to stop now until you actually play them. You bought the DLC when it was on sale. It still just sucks that Oh, it's still available, maybe? Oh, I'll have to see if I can get it before they shut down the PS3 store. I ain't buying. I get it to do what you got to do. Next up, we have Back to the Future, the game. I ended up buying this when I had dropped my car off to get the radio replaced in my old car. And on the way, while I was waiting for the repair, the work to be done, I ended up buying this and Saints Row 3 on the 360. No, I bought it on the PS3. I did buy it on the PS3 because I ended up selling it and I got a new copy on the 360. And this is the first game from Telltale Games that I ever played. I don't know if this is I don't think this is the first game that they made. I thought it was Jurassic Park. But yeah, it's like playing Back to the Future Part 4. Marty and Doc go on another time adventure, and Doc becomes like Hitler. He ends up like taking over the world, and it's like up to Marty to go back in time and stop it from happening. It's kind of crazy. I've only played through the first three episodes that they released because they were releasing this episodically. It was like the first chunk of the game is like $15, which is another thing that I thought was stupid that they used to do, is release like a chunk of the game for $15 and you play it for 10 minutes and it's done. And I was like, that felt like a ripoff. So I just waited after I played the first episode. I bought that. And I was like, I like this. And then they released the whole thing after a while on one disc. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do that. And I ended up playing through the first 3 episodes on this. And I never actually finished it. But it is pretty awesome. The guy that does the voice of Marty McFly is a pretty good Michael J. Fox impersonator, but the rest of the actors in here from the movies, so you definitely got Christopher Lloyd playing Doc Brown again, which is awesome. And it does feel like Back to the Future. It's just really, really dark. It's kind of like in the vein of Back to the Future 2. You know how dark that one got? It's pretty cool. Then we have Batman Arkham Origins. This is the 3rd game in the series and the one that everybody whines about because it's the only one not developed by Rocksteady, who developed Arkham Asylum, Arkham City. Did not do this, but then they went and did Arkham Knight. And from what I understand, it was a little janky. It was a little glitchy at first, I guess, when it came out. But it still feels and plays like the other games. And not like my YouTube friends, like, Jason from Corpse Flood and Game Grinder, they think that this one is actually really, really good and doesn't get enough attention that it should. But I've never actually played this one. I've played through Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. I actually beat those on stream on Twitch a long time ago. And I meant to play this, but I never hooked my PlayStation 3 up to my laptop to stream it, and I just never got around to it. They never released a remastered version of this like they did for the first 2 games. So I kind of lost interest. But I definitely am going to play through this at some point because I loved especially Arkham City. See, Arkham Origins, it doesn't get enough love. Everyone was whining about it not being developed by Rocksteady, and then everyone was like, this game is garbage, even though, like I said, most people I know say it's actually really good. Then we have these. I did not want to buy these because of it's like the whole Call of Duty kind of thing where the main focus is on the multiplayer part of it, and I don't care about the multiplayer part of these. I just want to play single players. Never even cared to find out if there were single player modes to these games, and it turns out they did, and I found out about it like years and years down the line. So I found them dirt cheap at like half-price books all over the place, and I bought them when I found them. We're talking Battlefield 3. This is the limited edition. Everybody plays, Call of Duty and, Battlefield for the online multiplayer. I didn't care. Turns out this has what I understand is a pretty cool single-player story mode. First-person shooter. Never actually played it. And I hear these are really good. And that's the Battlefield Bad Company spin-offs. And these are supposedly absolutely fantastic because we got the original and the second one, and this is the Ultimate Edition that has some extra content. And these are all of them were developed by DICE, who ended up going on to do the Star Wars Battlefront, the new Star Wars Battlefront games that came out on the PS4 and the Xbox One, which I really liked. At least, especially the second one. The second one's great. So I'll eventually get around to playing these first-person shooters because, I love my first-person shooters. Now that I know that they have a story mode that doesn't require an online connection, you're damn right I'm going to be playing through them. Your avatar has a Jet Set Radio hoodie. Battlefield 3 was an amazing multiplayer. Bad Company has hilarious gameplay. Yeah, I need to play through those. Got this one, I got this on Black Friday, like in 2014, like right after I got back into collecting. I found this at Best Buy. And it's Binary Domain. I think I got this for like $10 or something, brand new. And it's a third-person action game. I haven't actually played it. The only reason it's open, it's another one where the disc came loose after I dropped it. So I opened it up to put the disc back. But usually if it's released by Sega, there's like a 90% chance that it's going to be pretty cool. I remember in this generation rarely being let down by anything Sega released, even during the previous generation. So I was willing to give it the benefit of the doubt, so I picked it up. I hear it's actually not too bad. This I remember getting at a GameStop in their little used bin that they have by the front door. Like they're like, just steal this stuff, please. We don't want it anymore. And that is the remake of Bionic Commando. I hear this is not the greatest. It's like a 3D Bionic Commando game, and it's all about using your little hook shot arm thing, like in the original game, but now it's all in 3D. I haven't actually spent any real time playing it other than checking it out to see if the disc was jacked up, because anything I buy used from GameStop, I immediately check it out to make sure that it's actually going to work. Because people will buy, or GameStop will buy discs that look like somebody took sandpaper to it and give you 50 cents for it. And then put it back on the shelf for $10, which is kind of crappy. Lighthearted war games. You're shutting down the online. I don't care about that. 1943. Next up, I have Bladestorm: The 100 Years' War. Found this at that out of the way half price books that I keep talking about. I find the weirdest stuff there. But this is, I do believe, another one of those Musou games like Dynasty Warriors. And I do enjoy those. If I just want to play something mindless, brainless, just hitting a button over and over again and just beating the crap out of some mofos, yeah, this kind of stuff scratches that itch. So I picked it up because why not? And it was cheap. So this one, is this the one? Yep. So I have the limited edition of this as well. This is Blaze Blue Continuum Shift Extend. This is the expansion version of Continuum Shift, because there's just standard Continuum Shift, and then Extend is like, it's like Super Street Fighter 2. You know, some extra characters, a couple of extra modes. But one-on-one fighting games, I absolutely love Blaze Blue and Guilty Gear. The characters are just so off-the-wall crazy. The moves, the graphics, all the effects that happen, I just absolutely love it. And this is the limited edition box that I got. I got this off of Amazon for, I think, $10. Brand new. So this comes with an art collection book, a 17-song soundtrack, and Calamity X Continuum calendar. Open it up and take a look, shall we? Because it's out of the way. Here's the art collection book. Like I said, in the title, it's got a lot of art. I like art because it's arty. And here we have the soundtrack. I should probably go through all these and like upload the soundtracks to my computer so I can add it to my little playlist that Peter knows all about. And then this dinky little calendar that would have been really useful in 2012. But yeah, you can see it's got different characters for each month with their boobs hanging out. Boobs. And then a spider version of that character from that Hayao Miyazaki movie. What is it? Spirited Away. So I absolutely love this fighting franchise. I like this one so much, I bought it again on the PSP, and I think I also have it on the Vita because I like it so much. You put that one back up here where it goes. Get your ass in there. All right. I found this at my regular half-price books for like $3. And that is Blood Drive, and what it is like not Grand Theft Auto, Twisted Metal-esque with zombies, like mowing down zombies with your car, kind of thing. And it looked super fun, and it was super cheap, so I picked it up. I haven't actually spent any time playing it, but it looked super fun, and like I said, never heard of it before. I'm willing to give it a shot for $3. Also, Body Count. This was at Freak Toys. I picked this up. You can see how much I paid for it too. I picked this up when I was out with Rocket Sauce, I do believe last summer. And it's a first-person shooter, and I love my first-person shooters, so I wasn't going to pass it up. And I've always wanted this one. It had been on my wish list on Amazon for the longest freaking time. I need to get some Goo Gone to get that label residue off. That's gross. But you can see all the first-person shooter awesomeness. I'll play it eventually. You're going to stick to each other, aren't you? Yes, you is. And another first-person shooter that I absolutely had to have is Brink. This is another one that I had sitting in my Amazon wish list, and I eventually just pulled the trigger on it. I was like, okay, look, it's dropped down to like $8. Why the hell not? And it was still brand new, but it came with the disc loose, so I had to open it again in order to put the disc away, so it doesn't get all jacked up. But this is from Bethesda, and they did a first-person shooter, so I'm all for it. And then they went on to release Doom. So, yep. Done in Blood like 2 weeks ago. Sounds similar. I seriously doubt that, Peter. Miss being able to upload music to the Xbox and the 360. I remember doing that on the Xbox for the wrestling games. Yep, we did that. We made some custom characters in one of the Raw games on the original Xbox, and I used one of the Static X songs. I think it was Kill Your Idols for my custom character as his entrance music. Shit, I used to do it back on the PS1 with Ridge Racer. You could, once the game booted up and loaded into the system, you could take the disc out and put a CD in and play the first stage with whatever music was queued up to the point where the disc would be read for the music for Ridge Racer on the disc. It was pretty cool the way it worked. So now we're getting into a Move game. Once I ended up getting the Move controllers for my PS4, Jason from Corpse Flood filled me in to say, hey, just so you know, those Xbox, or those, I keep on screwing this up. I'm super tired, guys. Those Xbox, I did it again. Somebody reached through the screen and slapped me. The PS4 Move controllers actually work on the PS3. So you can actually use them to play PS3 Move games. So I started looking for Move games whenever I could. And they were super cheap. Like, nobody seems to want these things. So I picked up a Brunswick Pro Bowling game. I love digital bowling. Thanks to Wii Bowling. Absolutely love it. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to play this with the Move controller. And it looks pretty fantastic. Probably not the greatest. Probably won't be as fun as Wii Bowling, but can't all be winners, right? Turquoise waving. Yeah, it's all. Once it was the disc was, or the information was all in the internal RAM. Yep, you can just take the disc out. Then we have the Bureau XCOM Declassified. So I was talking about renting Asuras Wrath from the library by my work. Well, I also rented the original XCOM on the PS3 there because I wanted to try it out. It had been a long time since I had played like a tactical strategy game. Not like a wartime strategy game, kind of like Lord of the Rings, Battle for Middle-earth Part 2 or whatever. This was like, you have like 3 characters and you only have so much movement and you have to hide behind things and shoot bad guys, and it's like the tactical strategy thing. I hadn't played one of those in a long time. Probably the last time I played it was the original XCOM on the PS1. So I wanted to see how it was like on the new consoles, and I fell in love with it. I did not want to return it, but I had to. And ended up going out and buying that, and then I found out that they were going to release all these other games. So this was the 3rd game that they released on the PS3. I don't know if these ever came out on the Xbox 360. I never really looked. But this one is like a prequel. It takes place at the beginning when they first formed the XCOM Bureau and all that. And everyone's like dressed like a 1930s gangsters and stuff, or 1920s gangsters, which is kind of funny. And they're fighting aliens. So absolutely had to have that. And I got this on clearance at my local Target. Last week I was talking about Remember Me, and it had the clearance tag from Target. I got this on clearance at Target for $10. And then we've got all these. So I ended up using, I wanted to keep this in the Xbox 360 So certain franchises I keep on certain consoles. If I already have certain like a game in this franchise or a franchise for a console, I usually tend to continue with that console for the rest of the games in that franchise. I only have these 2 games on the PS3. The rest of them are on the 360. I think it's because of what they are that I never bothered to do it over there, but whatever. And that is Call of Duty, Black Ops 1 and 2. I have everything else Call of Duty on the 360. But these are removed from those games, you know, the Modern Warfare and all that kind of stuff. And these are a little darker first-person shooters. I played the first one, and I thought it was kind of cool. And then I saw the ending coming a mile away, and then it hit. And I was like, oh, look, I had that pegged like, 10 hours ago, 10 hours of gameplay ago. Oh, that's predictable. And I kind of like lost interest in this franchise after this. I didn't really care if they were going to make another one. Gary Oldman's in it, though. That's pretty cool. And then part 2 came out, and I completely ignored it. And I got this way later at a half-price books. And I don't think I think I have part 3 on the PS4. But I have not bought another Black Ops game since. Because 4 was specifically online only. There was no single player. When I see that, I do this. But I have not played this one yet. No, I remember where I got this. I got this at Gen Con. Remember, it was one of those games that I saw sitting there. I was just kind of like, well, it's super cheap and it's here. Let's do it. Made this the console, or this is the console that I picked to have all of my Marvel MCU games on. So back when the first phase of the Marvel movies was happening, every single character that got a movie got a video game tie-in to go with it. Back then, we were still getting tons of licensed games based off of movies and whatnot for this generation. So we have Captain America Super Soldier. And this is a third-person action / beat-em-up where you're playing as Captain America during WWII, smacking the shit out of some Hydra soldiers. And I hear this one's not too bad. I know not all of these are good, but this is one of the better ones because this is I think, out of the 5 that are out there. So you got Iron Man 1, 2, this, Thor, Incredible Hulk. Out of the 5 games that are out there, I think this is the one that's the most expensive right now. Also have Cross Edge. I don't remember where I got this. Probably half-price books. And it's another, I think it's is this a one-on-one fighting game or is this an RPG? I do not know. It looks like an RPG. I bought this so long ago, and I've never played it. It looks like an RPG. Oh, but why is Felicia from Darkstalkers in it? Where is TJ Kitsune to tell me all about this? Because it's got Felicia from Darkstalkers and Victor. What is happening here? Is this a crossover thing? TJ, where is you? I need your info. We're smacking you. There's a slap emoji. It's in 360. I have it. Nice. Then we have these. I only had one in the franchise, so I ended up going out and buying the other one like last year, I think. So when Sony threatened to shut down the PlayStation 3 servers and like the store and all that kind of stuff, I got into panic mode. Because I was like, there's so many PlayStation 3 games out there that I still want to buy. If I can't update them to their optimum playability with the updates that you get from games, what does that leave? Where does that leave you? Like, where would that leave me when I buy a PlayStation 3 game that was released broken or incomplete and I can't download an update anymore? So I started throwing every single game I had in my PS3 just to get the update out of the way. And as I got new games, I was doing the same thing. And it was also showing me where the gaps in my collection were. So I remember I threw this one in here, and I was like, there's another one in this franchise, isn't there? I should probably buy it before, the store shuts down. And then they said they're not going to shut the store down. So that was Crisis 2. This is the limited edition. It is a first-person, been released digitally on the Xbox 360, and luckily I do have that still downloaded on my 360. It was a PC game that was so taxing on hardware that like it was melting computers or something like that, if I remember correctly. And there was like this ongoing joke going around. It was like, can your computer run Crisis? Can your computer run Crisis or whatever? And it's a first-person shooter, and eventually, it was obviously so popular that it got sequels. And this limited edition has 4 extra, I can't read it, bonus XP, Scar weapon skin, weapon attachments, unique platinum dog tags. Okay, whatever. But first-person shooter, and I hear they're pretty awesome. I should probably play the first one, though. And the one I was missing was Crisis 3, and I got the Hunter Edition, which is more of the same. It includes day one access to the new Predator bow. So another new weapon. So you have a Rambo bow. Awesome. I'll eventually get around to playing those. Took a week. Yeah, I was doing that for the long... I would come home from work, and I would do like a shelving unit, which is like this big. I'd be like, I would do those games, and then the next day I would do another. And then I was like I said, I was in panic mode for like a couple of weeks. And then they're like, oh no, the response to us shutting down the store has been so negative, we're just going to leave it open for a little while longer. I'm like, okay, cool. This one I have played all the way through. I played through this maybe 2 years ago. I think it was during COVID. And that's Dante's Inferno. This is the Divine Edition. This was by Visceral Games. It is a complete ripoff of God of War. But it has a quite, like, so where that one, at least during this era, was all about, like, playing through Greek mythology, like situations and characters. This one is all about literal Dante's Inferno, the book. This is like you're going through the 7 levels of hell. And it is pretty awesome and twisted and disturbing. You play as this soldier whose wife has been murdered, and in order to save her soul, he goes down into hell to get it, because I want to say did she kill herself or something? There was something that brought her soul to hell. He had to go down to the last level of hell to get her soul back. And then the end game twist is like, what? Lots of nudity in the game, lots of really disturbing imagery, but the gameplay is absolutely fantastic, especially if you like God of War. It is graphically still beautiful on a PS3. I absolutely loved it. I played through this, I think, in about a week, and I loved every second of it. I was hoping we could get an update, a remaster or a remake of this at some point, because it's so fantastic, but apparently this barely sold. So we'll probably never see anything else Dante's Inferno related. But it did have part of that weird multimedia marketing push when it was released, especially when it comes to games released by Electronic Arts. When it came to Dead Space, they released an animated movie before the first 2 Dead Space games came out. This got an animated prequel as well that's on Blu-ray. I might actually buy that just to have it. It is beyond... No, it is nothing Hercules, man. It is just twisted stuff. It's like stuff right out of the book, Dante's Inferno. It is nuts, and it is awesome. It really, like, at first I'm playing it, I was like, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be, a God of War ripoff. But the more you play it, the more you realize, yeah, it is, but it is not playing by the same rules that the God of War games do. And it is pretty fantastic. It stands on its own. I loved it. And then we have Dark Void. This is a third-person action game, but you have a jetpack. It's like the Rocketeer in the future. And I played this briefly. I think it was a demo or something that I had. And I really wanted to get it, just never ended up buying it. I remember playing the demo, and I kept on saying, like, I'll pick that up eventually, and then I just never did until I got back into collecting. But this is released by Capcom, and this is another one that just kind of slipped by. Apparently everybody, because nobody bought it. And then I repurchased these. I had them on the 360, but because I was running out of space on my 360 shelf, but plenty left on my PS3 shelf, I ended up repurchasing these for the PS3. And I got these while visiting church in Minneapolis last November. And that is The Darkness 1 and 2, and the part 2 is the limited edition. These are first-person shooters. They're based, I do believe, on a comic book from like Malibu Comics or something, I think. And the twist is you can use guns. The twist is, though, that you've been possessed by this demon, and you have like these 2 claw-like appendages that look like they belong to Venom that come out of your shoulder blades, and they like hover in front of the camera, and you can use them to attack people and stuff like that. And it's pretty cool. I played the first one for a little bit when I got the original version for the 360 back in the day, and I really liked it. It was another one of those like, oh, shiny over here. What's new? I'll play that now. And I never played the second one, so I'll get around to it because first-person shooters. And then we have these, which are another Another franchise that I had on the 360 and I got rid of to get them on the PS3 to make room on my 360 shelf, and that is, I was just talking about these, of the original Dead Space trilogy. Played through Dead Space 1 when it first came out, got in trouble with my landlord because of this game. So I was so into this horror, third-person, like sci-fi horror game that I remember I came home from work one day, and I was like, I don't think anybody else is in the building. I'm going to turn the sound all the way up because I want to feel immersed in this world because I liked it so much. And turns out that my downstairs neighbors were home and did not appreciate hearing all these bangs and booms and screeches and weird ambiance, like just coming through the floorboards into their living room. So they complained to my landlord, and my landlord left me a note saying, like, how about next time you just turn the volume down and make it easier for everybody? I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Played through this, thought it was a great game. Absolutely loved it. I recently played through the remake that came out on the PS5. Fantastic game. Atmospheric. Everything's designed super well. You never really get lost. The designs of the creatures are awesome. And then I've got the limited edition of Dead Space 2. And the cool thing about the PS3 version of this, which makes it better to have on this console, is you get a copy of Dead Space Extraction that you get as a free download, and it was still available when I put this in there to update it. So I downloaded it straight into my PS3, and it uses the Move controllers to play it instead of the Wiimotes like you could on the Wii version, which is amazing. So get this on the PS3 if you have it, and if you have Wii controller Move controllers, you get a free copy of Extraction, which is a fantastic rail shooter that uses light guns. And I played through that one also, and that one has a fantastic ending as well. It is just as creepy and moody and awesome and well-designed as the first one. It's amazing. And then we have Dead Space 3. This is the limited edition that has day one access to the Witness suit, the First Contact suit, the Evangelizer weapon, and the Negotiator weapon. So the thing was, they changed up the way this game played. So instead of it being like a horror science fiction game, this one is just straight up science fiction. And I kind of didn't like it. I was not feeling it. I got about halfway through the game. There's a scene where you're piloting your spaceship through like a meteor, like an asteroid field. And I was like, this isn't what this game is supposed to be. I was like, I'm not digging where this is going. So I stopped playing it and never completed it. But it looked great, though. So like they kind of shifted from it being a horror game to just like a straight up science fiction shooter kind of thing. And it was not scary. So I was kind of like, The Darkness is your favorite game of all time. The story is right in the feels. I still got to play through it. I liked what I played of it back like in 2007 or 8 or whatever it was. First time I ever felt like I was playing the big bad boss at the end of a game and could talk all day about it. Please do. I like that. I like conversations about these video games. Let's do it. Maybe I'll play through it and then I'll do a stream about it. And I hope you'll be there. Pick this one up. I don't think this uses... Does this use the Move? No, it does not. Had to have my licensed games. Deadliest Warrior, Ancient Combat. Deadliest Warrior was a TV show that was on for at least a season where these like history of combat experts would be like, wouldn't it be cool if like a Mongolian general like Genghis Khan fought like a Roman centurion? Who would win? And then they do all the research about like the average body weight of one of these types of people, the kind of weapons they would use, the construction of the weapons, how strong they were they brittle, that kind of thing, like the armor, what kind of armor they would wear, their fighting styles. They would run it all through a computer and then do a simulation and run it for you with like actual like actors playing it out who would win that fight. Well, this one is a one-on-one fighting game where you get a whole bunch of different types of people who would be doing some fighting from history and beating the crap out of each other. I thought it was a cool idea for a show. Didn't last very long. There's only so many options you could have. So this sounded pretty cool to me. Have not spent any major time playing it, but it's okay. It's a one-on-one fighting game. I'm willing to give it a shot. We used to watch it with your grandpa. I always thought it was a fantastic idea, but I remember like watching the first episode going like, that was cool. There's a limited amount of things you could do with this show, though. You're going to run out of things to do. You're eventually going to start reusing the people and start mixing and matching. And then when you're done with that, you're done. Then we have NBA Def Jam icon. So I was a huge fan of the first two Def Jam games. There was Def Jam Vendetta and Def Jam Battle for New York, which were wrestling games. And I'm not a wrestling fan, and I'm not a rap fan, but it was a game where you were wrestling with real rap stars like Snoop Dogg and shit like that. That was awesome to me. I was like, that is so cool and unique. I don't care if I don't like wrestling. I don't care if I don't like rap. I'm buying this to play it because it sounds cool. And it was. I absolutely loved the first two games. And then we got the third game that came out on the new generation because the first two were released on the Xbox and the PS2. And this one is not fun. It's more like a fighting game, but it just doesn't work. I just remember, like, I bought this on day one because I was super excited. I'm like, okay, I cannot wait to see what an HD version of this game is like with the weird things you can do with the controller and stuff now. And I remember I played it for like an hour at most. And when I was done with that hour, I was like, I don't think I need to play this ever again. I was totally unimpressed. But I want to have it for my collection because I like the franchise. So why not? Yeah, Fight for New York is fantastic. Was it Carmen Electra's in the second one, I think? That hoe. Then we have Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax. I remember finding this at the disc replay by my work. And it's another one-on-one fighting game. I think it's a bunch of anime characters. Again, I could be wrong. But I picked it up because why the hell not? And like I said, every time I talk about that, I wish that disc replay was still there because, number one, it would give me a better option than that half-price books that I used to go to that had everything, which has nothing now. And every single time I would go to that disc replay, I would find awesome stuff, dirt freaking cheap. And I'd walk in there with the intention to browse, and I'd walk out with a bag full of games that I barely spent $30 on. And this was one of them. I was like, okay, fine. It looks like a really cool fighting game. I will pick it up. Why the hell not? And then we have this RPG franchise, which I've never played, but it's like tactical RPG. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I typed in this franchise's name into YouTube one time because I wanted to see what the gameplay was like. And I found this YouTube channel. It was a 60-year-old lady who was absolutely obsessed with this franchise. And every video on her channel was her talking about this franchise. And I was like, that is awesome. That, number one, it is like an older a person who is way older than me, way older than most of the people that are in this chat right now, talking about a video game that you would never think like an older woman would be interested in because it's like so complicated. But she loved the characters, loved the gameplay, just talked about every single aspect of these games. And I was like, this is awesome. I absolutely love this. I now need to get these. We're talking the Disgaea games. And we've got Disgaea 3, Absence of Justice, and Disgaea 4, A Promise Unforgotten. Never played any of these, but like I said, they are tactical RPGs, kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics. And hearing that lady talk, I don't remember the name of the channel. I'll have to look it up again. But hearing her talk about the way she talked about these games, like the love she had for these games, I was like, I need to start buying some of these because she's making it sound like the best games ever. And she was like doing videos where she's talking about all the stuff that she buys outside of the games, like, you know, any collectibles that are available for it, like figurines, everything. I was like, this, wow, just shocked the hell out of me. Trash. I'm always looking for a good time when it comes to video games, and I'm willing to try anything once. If it sucks, I just get rid of it. You know, it doesn't hurt me in any way, except maybe losing a few bucks and reselling it, but whatever. But yeah, the first two Def Jam games, chef's kiss, awesome. Picked this one up at the exchange down the street, and I was a huge fan of this one channel. It's not around anymore. It's called Ports Center. And the channel is still there. The guy that ran it, Ben Patton, British dude, really funny. He's like a stand-up comedian now. He streams on Twitch every once in a while. He streams nothing but worms, which is awesome. I watch his streams once in a while. He's really, really nice and funny. He did this Ports Center channel, and he would basically talk about ports of home console games to the Amiga or whatever, and vice versa. A lot of it was like bad ports and stuff like that. And I remember I bought this game at this exchange down the street from me because I was like, okay, cool, license game, cool, I'll buy it. I kind of like the franchise. I haven't really watched it a whole lot, but I like it. I want to see what it's like in video game form. And I posted my picture that I do at the end of every week if I have games to show, like on Instagram or whatever. And he saw my Instagram post with this game in it, and he was like, "You actually bought that? Like, you got it in the States? Because it's like a British game. This is a UK copy. It wasn't available over here." And I was like, "Yeah, I found it at one of my local stores." And he's like, "Good for you, man." He's like, "I'm glad that US people are interested in playing this game. It's fantastic." I'm like, "Okay." That is Doctor Who: The Eternity Clock. I'm not a big Doctor Who fan. I liked the first season with Christopher Eccleston when they rebooted it. I thought that was great. I started watching the David Tennant years, and it got way too silly for me, and I was like, no, I'm not good. And then once Matt Cook or Matt Clark or whatever the hell his name is, him, not Crispin Glover, took over, I was like, no, I'm good. I'm done. But this is like a third-person action point-and-clicky adventure kind of thing. And I was like, I'll give it a shot and see what it's like. Stuff and put it in I put it in my console to update it if there was an update, see if there was one, but I haven't actually played it. But outwit and destroy monsters, including the Silence, Daleks, Slurrins, the Cybermen, and an epic action adventure. Sure, why not? I'm willing to give everything a shot. Oh, I just farted. The new AEW game. I've been looking for a new wrestling, and I keep on buying those Fire Pro wrestling games. I need to play some of those too. Here we have Doom. Oh no, I should not go to Doom because that was I missed one. Okay, so this one can't go on my standard shelf because it comes in some weird ass packaging, and it does not come in something like this. So it should have been talked about before Disgaea. Yeah, it should have been talked about right before Disgaea. And that is Deus Ex Human Revolution. This is the augmented edition, and the disc itself is in here in like a digipack. So I can't put it on my standard shelf. This is way too tall to fit on my standard shelf. And it comes with some extra stuff, and I could not, well, maybe if I look on the packaging, it'll tell me. Yeah, it does. It comes with an art book. 46-minute making of a game soundtrack, E3 trailer, and animated storyboards. Motion graphic novel adapted from the official series by DC Comics, and a 40-page art book. Where is the art book? Is that just the manual? Yes, that is just the manual. That might be one of the things that's missing from this. But we got the bonus disc. We got the game disc. And that thing keeps slipping out of place because it sucks. Is it actually in here? So it looks like I'm missing the art book. That explains why I got this so cheap at the exchange. I might have to rebuy this one. But whatever. This is a first-person cyberpunk game. It's had multiple games in the franchise, and I remember everyone telling me that this one was pretty fantastic, so I picked it up when I saw it. And now I know why it was so cheap, because it's missing the art book. BS. Boo. I don't play games on PC, so now we're going to talk about Doom 3. This is the BFG edition, and I already have Doom 3 on the original Xbox, and I think I have it on the PS4 as well. The reason I wanted to buy this one is it has all of the original Doom games on it as well as like extra content. So you got the original Doom, Doom 2, Final Doom. Yeah, it includes the classic Doom and Doom 2 games, making it the definitive collection of the revolutionary games developed by id Software. So I wanted to get it for that alone and get achievements for playing through them, because I've played through Doom 1 and 2 countless times on my dad's PC. So playing through them and getting some trophies sounded pretty awesome. Doom 3 is okay. It's not my favorite game in the franchise. They kind of took it in a new direction, kind of tried to make it more cinematic because the original ones were just, pixels. Now they got polygons and they can do all these crazy things. Why not change the way it plays? And that's exactly what they did. A lot of people were like, no, and some people embraced it. I thought it was okay. Had to pick this one up. I had this originally. I think I had the original game on the PS3. No, I had it on the 360. I think I got it for Christmas, whatever year that was, 2011, 2012. And I was playing through it, and I got laid in the game. And that was kind of my end game. I was like, I don't need to play this anymore. I did what I wanted to do. I got laid in the game, and I'm done. I think I need to play through the game completely. I might play through this year, or at least one of them, of the two that are around here. And that is Dragon Age Origins. This is the Ultimate Edition. This has Dragon Age Origins and Awakening, which is like the DLC, I do believe. It includes Dragon Age Origins Awakening, the Stone Prisoner, Warden's Keep, Return to Ostagar, the Dark Spawn Chronicles, whatever. It's got a ton of DLC built into it, which is awesome. All in one place. All in one disc. That is fantastic. So these are by BioWare, people that do Mass Effect. And I played this for maybe like a week and a half. I really did enjoy it. Like, I never really got into Mass Effect. I still need to play through those. But like, I really got into the fantasy aspect of this and the way everything worked. And I was playing as a male character, and I banged Morgan, and thought Morgan was like the coolest freaking female character in a game I had played recently. And I was like, you know what? That'd be cool if you can actually, like, if they allowed you to do certain things. And sure enough, she starts like talking smack to me, and I was just kind of like, girl, get over here. And next thing you know, we're smacking the uglies. It's really cool. I need to play through it completely. You have a copy of it? I really enjoyed it. Is this broken? I don't know. So one of the gaps I had in my collection when I was updating all the games on the PS3 was this franchise. I was missing I do believe the first one. So we're talking Dragon's Dogma. These are these RPGs from Capcom. I had the first one. I had this one. I had Dragon's Dogma Arisen. And I was like, I should probably get the first one. So I went out and found a copy of this on eBay dirt cheap. And they look like pretty cool RPGs. They even have a cartoon on, I do believe, Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. So I should probably check that out, even though I don't have Netflix anymore. I have ways to watch things. Oh my God, we're past an hour and a half already. We still got a whole stack of games. I had to get this one, Drakengard 3. This is like towards the end of the PlayStation 3's life when you start seeing that blue band at the top instead of the black band at the top. So they were starting to do this because, like, oh, PlayStation 4, like, it looks almost the same, doesn't it? Trick people into buying something they can't play. I had the first two Drakengard games on the the PS2. Yeah, the PS2. And they're RPGs, and they're pretty fun. I played them a little bit. Had to get the third one. And the graphics look absolutely beautiful. I mean, look at that. That looks like a real person almost. So I need to play through those. Then this Lightning Rod of Hate, which I never understood. So I talked about it in the 360 streams. Like when Aliens Colonial Marines was coming out, everybody was watching the videos and listening to the hype and all the stuff that the Gearbox was talking about they were going to do for the game. And then the game comes out, and everyone gets disappointed that it's not all these promises. You'd almost think that Peter Molyneux was the guy who developed it. And they're all disappointed. Everyone's like, this is the worst game ever made. And it's like so bad. None of the stuff that was supposed to be in there's in there. Well, you know what? I don't listen to that kind of stuff. I don't follow the development of games. I hear games coming out. I might see a trailer for it or something. And then I go, okay, I'll wait for it to come out and play it then. I don't follow it or anything. That's one of the reasons why I'm so sick of Mortal Kombat 1 already. It's everywhere, and I can't get away from it, and I canceled my pre-order because I don't even feel like playing. As much as I love Mortal Kombat, I don't even feel like playing Mortal Kombat 1. It's just everywhere. Today, I'm at work, and I happen to log on to my YouTube account, and Ed Boon is on freaking Hot Ones doing a hot or spicy chicken wing challenge to advertise the game. I'm like, even here? I'm sick of it. Anyway, this was one of those games where it had been in development for like 15 years, and everybody was excited about it, and all the promises that were being made. It's another Gearbox game, surprise, surprise. And it comes out, and everyone's like, this is the worst thing ever made. They lied to us. They deceived us. They stole our money. I never followed the development of it. I was never that interested in the franchise to begin with. I mean, I like it. It's just fine. It's just, I was like, okay, when that game comes out, I'll play it. And I was not disappointed. It felt like a game in this franchise. That is Duke Nukem Forever. I never fell for the hype. I was like, oh, it's coming out finally? Okay, I'll play it. And I played it. I'm like, it's a Duke Nukem game. What did you expect? Yeah, it might feel kind of like you're playing a PS2 game, but I don't care. It still felt like a Duke Nukem game. I was okay with it. I don't know what people wanted. They sound like they wanted the Second Coming, but we got this instead. And you know what? I was okay with it. And I did not think it was terrible. I actually enjoyed myself when I was playing it. So, yeah. It kills all the hype. Yep, that's why I am so sick of, I don't even want to play. I'm not even going to play Mortal Kombat. I usually will buy it, like a new Mortal Kombat game. I will buy it on day one, play it until I beat the story mode, and then get rid of it. And then once the complete version comes out a couple years later, I'll buy that, and that is the version of it that I keep. I don't even feel like doing that. I think I'm just going to wait until the complete version comes out and play it then. I'm so disinterested in it. It's making me mad. The loading times, yeah. Like, I just don't follow, like Peter says, I don't follow game development. It's like they'll make the announcement. I'll judge if I want to play it off of the announcement trailer or whatever they say. And then that is it. I wait. And yeah, Duke Nukem took forever to get to us, but I was not that big of a fan that it made a difference. So when it finally came out, I was like, oh, I'm going to go buy a copy of it today, and hopefully it'll be fun. And I had fun with it. That's all I care about. Thank you, Stubby. I remember picking this up at a Best Buy. Best Buy at some point started buying used games and like were selling them at their stores. I remember I walked in and they had this rack of used games that were like discounted. I was like, when did this happen? And I bought a copy of Dungeon Siege 3. It is a dungeon crawler RPG. It's part of a series that was, I think, started off on the PC and eventually it came to the consoles. And since at the time that this came out, I was really into Diablo 3, I was like, oh, cool, another game of that style. I'll play the shit out of it. And I did. Picking apart stories and graphics. Nah, I'm good, bruh. I'm good. Next up, we have an import. So I am super happy that I was able to get this before the price went through the absolute freaking roof. So I'm a huge fan of this. Well, if you know me now, or if you've been following the channel for the last year, I've been talking a lot about this thing that I wasn't talking about before. That's Dungeons and Dragons. But there was a couple of Dungeons and Dragons arcade games that came out in the 90s that were pretty fantastic. They were like beat 'em ups with like RPG elements. And we never really got home console ports. They did in Japan though. They released them on a collection for the Saturn in Japan, and you needed to have the RAM expansion cart to play it. Eventually, they were released digitally on the PlayStation 3. I didn't realize that they were. I'd never heard of it. But in Japan, they got released on physical media, so I have the Dungeons & Dragons, I think it means arcade, I think what it says there is arcade collection. And it has the 2 Dungeons & Dragons arcade games, so you've got Tower of Doom and Shadow over Mystara, which are what's on my Saturn version as well. I have the Saturn version too because huge fan of it. And just the ability to have it on physical media is a thrill for me. I absolutely loved these 2 arcade games. They were fantastic. And now these are free of load times because the Saturn version is just load-tastic. Absolutely happy that I was able to get that. And now the price is like through the goddamn roof. It was Diablo, but pretty. And then I have all of these because I'm a fan of this franchise. Jesus. Okay. Well, there's another one, but okay. We have these Dynasty Warriors, Church's favorite franchise. I love just a good mindless beat 'em up, and these definitely scratch that itch. I think I said it before. So we got Dynasty Warriors 6. I don't know if this was the first one that was available on this generation. It might have been 5. I don't remember. I think 4 was the last one that came out on the PS2. There's so many games in this franchise, it's hard to know. But yeah, massive Musou or Muso. I don't know I can't remember how to pronounce it. Beat 'em ups where it's like one person versus an entire army kind of thing. Love it. And then you got Empires, which is basically DLC on a disc. It's just extra characters, extra areas to fight through in part 6 that add on to that. And then you got Dynasty Warriors 7, which I hear was like the high point of the franchise because they added in some extra things. Have not played this one. This was in 3D. Ooh. And then Dynasty Warriors 8, which is more of the same. I don't have I need to get the Empires versions of 7 and 8. If there are any. There's, like I said, there's so many. It's hard to keep track. But they also do weird spin-offs. Like there's Legend of Zelda versions of that. There's Fire Emblem versions of that. Where's the Metroid one? I want a Metroid one. Dynasty Warriors. They also did a sci-fi version called Dynasty Warriors Strike Force, which is the exact same thing, except you went out of space. So absolutely love these franchises. I have to have them all. Have to. Pick this one up. Okay, so excuse me. During the 360 stream, I was talking about when I picked up Catherine with my ex at this really big mall's GameStop, and I bought 2 games that day. I bought Catherine and I bought this. This is the one she was kind of more interested in, but she was giving me shit for buying Catherine because she's like, that looks like a porn game. I was just kind of like, nothing beats you, baby, kind of thing. We're talking El Shaddai, Ascension of the Metatron. This one has a little bit of a religious bent to it, which is why it interested her. And it's a 3D beat 'em up, kind of like, what's it called? God of War again. But this one is all about like Christian mythology kind of things. So, yay. But it looked really cool. I like the artwork on the front especially. I thought that artwork was fantastic. So I picked it up. It was cheap. And she was like, well, I'll play that while you're playing your porn game. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Oh, Baja Blast. Where have you been all my life? And then we have Enemy Territory Quake Wars. I bought this because Quake. I love Quake. Only thing is, I don't know if this is a first-person shooter. It's an online. I don't think it's online only because it does say number of players. 1. It could be just strictly online. Oh, shit. The Quake universe explodes into the ultimate team-based shooter. Intense 16-player PlayStation Network online battles. Hone your skills offline against powerful AI and then join the battle online with friends. I might be getting rid of this. This sounds like it is online only, and it's just like a little training mode that you can play offline. That's some bullshit. Oh, I'm putting this one aside. Bye-bye, Quake Wars. It was nice knowing you. Had to get this again. This is one of the games that I bought on the PlayStation 3 after getting rid of my 360 version to make room on my shelf. One of my favorite games of this generation. I was talking about how much I like the Uncharted games. And this one definitely falls into that kind of 3D platformer category. But the storyline of this one is like, holy shit. I remember I played the demo. I downloaded the demo, played the demo twice. I liked it that much. And I was like, I'm buying you day one. And I played through it within the space of a week. And I was like, yes, can we have some more? Probably won't get it. I don't think it's sold at all. But this is by Ninja Theory, I think is the name of the company. It's Andy Serkis, the guy who played Gollum. This is his motion capture company that developed this game. And that is Enslaved Odyssey to the West. It is basically a sci-fi apocalyptic version of the Odyssey. Or The Legend of the Monkey King kind of thing. And you play as these two different characters. One of them is like this big, bulky dude, and the other one is this really quick girl. And you do like it's like 3D platforming, like you're playing an Uncharted game, but you're like in this post-apocalyptic world. And finding out what happened to the world is one of the most heartbreaking things that has happened in a video game. Like I remember watching that last cutscene and being like, "Oh damn!" You know. It is really, really good. The gameplay is absolutely fantastic. It's beautiful. The designs for everything is super awesome. One of my favorite games of all time. I absolutely loved it. I'm definitely itching to play through it again. I would love to get a remaster of that. It is fantastic. Yeah, he plays the main character, and he also shows up in person, like through a video screen in the end, and it's like one of the most heartbreaking things you'll see in a video game when you find out what he's talking about. It's like, god damn. But it's an amazing game. I absolutely love it. All the games that he made, it was what the fuck is the name of that game? I don't think I'm talking about it today. Oh man, it was like a launch title. Heavenly Sword. Holy crap. Heavenly Sword. Play Heavenly Sword if you have a PS3. Just do it. It is amazing. It's Andy Serkis, his company released or created that one too, and he plays the villain in it, and it is fantastic. Bought this because of Radical Reggie. I actually bought the PlayStation 2 version of this for $1 at this Half Price Books warehouse sale that was in Wisconsin near Milwaukee. And then I found out there's a PlayStation 3/Xbox 360 version, so I picked that up instead because I'd rather play the high def version. Got to get the better version. Oh, Circus. We're talking Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer is one of my favorite comic book characters, so I was really excited. Even though I did not like the original Fantastic Four movie with Chris Evans and Jessica Alba, worst casting ever. I wasn't a fan of it. I was like excited for this one because I finally get to see Silver Surfer in a movie, and he was the best thing in the damn movie as far as I'm concerned. The rest of the movie was Galactus sucked. Anyway, I was really excited to play like a video game version of this when I found out that this was really. I didn't know about it when the movie was out that there was a game adaptation. I should have known better. There always is, especially when it comes to superhero stuff. But didn't know about it until I got back into collecting. Radical Reggie talked about this one and the first movie's video game in one of our little streams that we did together. And he was like, yeah, they're really, really fun. So I will give this one a shot eventually. It's a 3D beat 'em up. You get to play as all the characters. Not sure if you get to play as Silver Surfer at all. He's probably a boss. But he does turn around at the end and become a hero. So, sure. See, Stubby, this is why me and you are friends. Heavenly Sword, Sony's most criminally neglected property. You damn straight. The movie, I was not. Did you ever see the Heavenly Sword movie though? They actually like made a film. It's computer, it's CG animated. I didn't like it nearly as much as the game. I would rather just play through the game again. Yeah, Adam Driver is going to be Mr. Fantastic, the guy with the huge, the squashed head and the big ears. Yeah, okay. I liked the dude from The Office playing him better from Doctor Strange too. And then we got this big ass franchise. We got these Fear games. It stands for First Encounter Assault Recon. They're first-person shooters, but they have a horror aspect to it. There's like this ghost girl that is haunting this crew or whatever. I haven't played any of these yet. I know John Carpenter did the music for these, I do believe. And he even said at one point, if he were to come back to filmmaking, he would love to either make a movie based on Fear or Dead Space. But I picked all these up at once at a GameStop. They had all of them. Turns out that there was an add-on for one of the games. I don't know if it was part 2 or part 3. It might have been part 2. That was only released on the Xbox 360, but I was like, I don't really care. Then you have Fear 2, Project Origin, and horror first-person shooter. I'll play through these definitely at some point. I keep forgetting that I have them. And then we have Fear 3, which is more of the same. Yep, there is a movie. It was on Netflix. It came out probably in 2000 and trying to think, 2010, 2011. I think I was still at my old apartment when it came out, and I watched it on Netflix streaming, or I rented it. I might have rented the disc. It was not good. It was like this really quickly abridged version. The characters, they had the same actors play the characters from the game. So Anna Torv from Fringe played the main character again. Circus played the villain and all that. It was all the same actors, but it just didn't feel right to me. It was like rushed, and it just I didn't really like it. The game is definitely the way to go. Yeah, to go in an unknown, just not Adam Driver. Don't get me wrong, Adam Driver's a great actor, but I don't see him as Mr. Fantastic. Margot Robbie as Sue Storm would be fantastic, but now that she's in a billion-dollar movie, that probably won't happen. But I do like that they cast Vanessa Kirby from the Mission Impossible movies as Sue Storm. I think that's a pretty good choice. Haven't really heard of anything that the guy that's playing the Thing is from. I don't know who he is. I forget who they cast as Human Torch. Whatever. Use the E3 for an E in fear. Yeah, no, aren't they clever? Next up, we have Falling Skies, the game. I bought this at the same time I bought that Bionic Commando game from GameStop in that like discount bin. My dad used to watch this TV show. It has Noah Wyle from ER. It was like his big post-ER thing that he did. And this was on for like maybe 3 or 4 seasons or whatever. Steven Spielberg produced it. It's about an alien invasion. And this is a tactical action game, kind of like XCOM, just based on the TV show, which I've never watched, but like I say, I love my license games, so I have to have it. And I definitely had to have this. We have the Far Cry compilation. This included 3 games, Far Cry 2, Far Cry 3, and then this DLC thing that they released with Far Cry 3, which was called Blood Dragon, which is like the most gonzo 80s movie you've ever played. So Far Cry, like first-person shooters. I love my first-person shooters. I played the original Far Cry on the Xbox, the original Xbox. Was it Far Cry Instincts? These don't follow the same storyline. It's all different characters each time. What is the last one they made? Was part 6? I think. Part 5 or 6. I can't remember. The last one had Gus Fring from Breaking Bad in it. Giancarlo Esposito. I think that's part 6. But part 2 and 3 are pretty good. I bought this so I could play Blood Dragon because I remember hearing everybody talk about how it's like this weird 80s, like these are all first-person shooters, but this one is set in like this weird version of the 80s where neon is everywhere. It's like the Terminator, like the future world from the Terminator. And it was just absolutely like gonzo 80s action stuff. And I was like, that just sounds really fun. Even the lead character looks like the guy Michael Biehn from the original Terminator. And you can see there's like robot people and stuff. That sounded super cool to me. So I had to buy this. And I don't remember who said that everything is on the disc. Like all 3 games are on the disc. Nope. So basically, it is part 2 and 3 on the disc, and you had to put a code in to get Blood Dragon. Luckily, I bought this within the time limit where the code that is in here, because I bought this brand new, was still available and active, so I downloaded it, and it's still on my PS3. Thank you. I can't wait to play through it. I played it for a good like couple of hours. I was like, this is really, really rad. And then I was like, I'm going to come back to it, and I just never did. He voices the character. Okay, well, that makes perfect sense. New fantastic casting details reportedly confirm rumors that Stranger Things star Joseph Quinn will be playing the Human Torch. Joseph Quinn. Oh, the guy that died in the Upside Down? The guitar player guy? The British guy? He wasn't British on the show. He was the guy who was the dungeon master that sacrificed himself at the end of the last season. He's a good actor, though. I could see that. And then we have, I've never played these. I don't know if I will. I've heard so much bad stuff about them, but these are 2 games that I had on the 360. I got them dirt cheap on one of those Square Enix website clearance sales that I keep talking about. But I would rather have them on the PS3 because this is the console where the franchise started with the Part 7. So we're talking Final Fantasy 13 and 13-2. So I've heard nothing but bad things about 13. John Tron, I remember, called this Final Hallway 13 because it's so linear. There's nothing to go off path. It's like you're always basically heading in a straight line toward what they want you to do. And there's like nothing you can do about it to veer off that path that they have set for you. It's kind of boring from what I understand. And then part 2 is just more of the same. But it is cool that they have like these metallic covers. I don't know if you can actually see that they're reflecting light in different colors and stuff. That's kind of cool, but I hear these are terrible. I would probably never play them, but I want to have them because I do like Final Fantasy. I just saw the second game in this franchise, but it was on the 360, and I was like, God damn it, I want it for the PS3. I would have bought it, but I'm like, my little OCD took over. I'm like, no, you have to have it for the PS3. We're talking Fist of the North Star, Ken's Rage. So one of my goals is to get all the Fist of the North Star or Hokuto no Ken games that are out there. I have pretty much all of them. I think I need 2 more, and I'm good to go. I think there's another one on the Saturn that I need, or it's either the Saturn or the PS1. And then part 2 of this. And what these are is just a 3D beat 'em up where you're playing as Kenshiro. And as you beat people up, you build up a rage meter. And then once you do that, you start punching people so hard their heads explode or their intestines shoot out their butthole kind of thing. The way it happens in the comic books and the animated films and TV shows. I love Fist of the North Star. I think it's a fantastic property. I still need to play through the open world game that they released on the PS4. But absolutely thrilled that they made this. It's by Koei, so they make it. It's not really a Musou game, although it is like you're like in an arena and there's maybe like 10 or 15 bad guys to fight at once, but it's not like you versus an army. The game gets better after 20 hours in. I don't need it to be good 20 hours in. I need it to be good the moment I boot it up. So I was bitching about this game at the beginning of the stream. This was one of the first games I bought for my PS3 when I first got it, and also my first big experience with the downfalls of DLC. And that is Folklore. It's this RPG. It was like a launch game, I do believe. And from the outset, it was like, you can add all these more extra characters into the game and all these extra costumes and outfits and whatnot. Here's $5 for this, $3 for this, $5 for this, $2 for this. And it's like, pay $60 for the game and end up paying another $60 for all this extra crap that they just kept out of the game. You could have been unlocking while you were playing it. So I wasn't going to fall for it. So I got rid of it. But I ended up buying it again dirt cheap before the price for this shot up by about $100. And it looks okay. I remember it being all right. But like once I found out all this extra DLC stuff, I'm like, I'm not cool with that. Them mining the players for extra money for stupid crap. I still don't. I'll eventually play through that. So when I bought that Armored Core game dirt cheap at that GameStop for like $1, I also got this for $1. Like I said, they were like clearancing out like their PS3 games to make room for all the PS4 stuff that was out. And it is Front Mission Evolved. So this is an old franchise. I do believe it started on the Super Famicom. It's another mech game. But the original Front Mission was like mech, like tactical RPG type games. This one looks more like an actual mech like shooter game. Haven't actually played it, even though I got it for $1, but can't complain. It was a whole slim dollar. I hear it's a good game too. What's up, J-Chip? I'll play it eventually. Picked up Full Auto 2 Battle Lines. I remember I got this at Half Price Books. And it's like playing Twisted Metal. It's like a car combat game, but not nearly as cool. But it looks all flashy and fun. But I'd rather still play Twisted Metal. Then I had to get this. I remember I rented this from that library that I was talking about where I got the XCOM game and whatever the other game was I was talking about earlier. I can't remember. But I rented Game of Thrones from the library to see what it was like. And man, do you have to have knowledge of that show to play this. One of the biggest, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Game of Thrones. One of the biggest problems I had with Game of Thrones were remembering people's goddamn names. And since I was kind of behind on watching Game of Thrones when this game got released, when I rented it, I was like, I am so lost. I don't know what this is about or who they're talking about. So I brought it back like the next day. I was like, yeah, I'm not in that place where I can play this and know what's going on and get the full effect that it's trying to get. But it is like a version of, I guess, Dragon Age with Game of Thrones with a little bit of like word, like a, what do you call it? Conversation tree stuff going on. So it's like an RPG. It's like an action RPG. It was cool when I played, but like I said, I was so freaking lost. So lost. Never seen RoboCop? Boo. Yeah, Rogue City. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm just glad that we're starting to get more licensed games again, guys. I really am. I know people whine and complain about them, but man, there are a lot of good ones out there that nobody gives the time of day to. And I've talked about it like so much on this channel, but I'm really excited for it. After like the Predator game being pretty cool, even though it was online only, and the Aliens game that was online, the Fireteam Elite being so awesome. Like, I have high hopes. I really do. Next up, we have Genji, Days of the Blade. This, I do believe, is another Musou style game, if I am correct. But this one was released by Sony. So it's like a big one-person versus an army kind of thing. I haven't played it. Picked this up at Half Price Books. That really, the one in the real rich neighborhood that I was talking about. Remember, I found it there, but I have not played it other than to update it. And then you're going to be really upset with me for this. Those of you who are fans of this franchise, because I've never played any of these games that I'm holding in my hand. Well, no, sorry. I take that back. One of them. We're talking all these God of War games that came out on the PS3. So we'll start off with God of War 3. Never played this one at all. At all. Captain Algebra will probably be shaking his head at me right now going like, how dare you? I played 1 and 2. Loved them. Just for some reason, I just never felt the urge to play the third one. I don't know, maybe if I just felt like it didn't really need to keep going at that point, but it did. I do want to play it, though, because I absolutely love the new God of War games, the two that came out on the PS4/PS5. So I need to go back and finish off the story because there are certain things they talk about in those games where I'm certainly going like, that had to have been from one of the ones I didn't play. So I'll eventually get around to it, but if you played God of War 1 and 2, you know what to expect, just with better graphics. And then we have I think it's supposed to be a prequel. Yeah, before he was a god, he was a man. And that is God of War Ascension. I know Captain Algebra hadn't played this one until maybe a year ago, even though he's a huge God of War fan. So, I don't feel so bad. But more of the same. But this one takes place before he got covered with his wife and kids' ashes. And then this is the one I have played because I have played the 2 games on here. But we have the God of War collection. This has God of War 1 and 2 on it. And includes a voucher for God of War 3 E3 2009 demo. Ooh. But yeah, I played both of these on the PlayStation 2, but I wanted to get this because they're remastered in high def, and you can get some trophies for playing it. But I've played both of those, love them. And then we have this compilation, which is the Origins collection. These are the 2 PSP games remastered for the PS3. So this is Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta. And I've played those on the PSP briefly. I really liked them, but I'd rather play them on my television. So I'll eventually get around to playing these as well. And they're in 3 to the D's. And the last game I'm going to talk about today is Godfather 3. Sorry, Godfather 2. I can't read Roman numerals, apparently. May make my eyes cross. So the original Godfather game I had on, I do believe I had it on the Xbox back in the day when it first came out. And it's one of the only open world games I actually got into. I tried playing like the Grand Theft Auto games and I couldn't do it. I think it was because I liked The Godfather as a license, like the movies, so much that I was willing to put more effort into liking it than I was the Grand Theft Auto games. But it really felt like you were inside the Godfather movies. It was like they really did a good job making those games. Unfortunately, from what I understand, when it comes to Godfather 2, that kind of magic got lost. This one just feels like a generic open world game with like the Godfather license thrown over the top just to like make a buck. From what I'm told, I haven't actually played it because I heard so much bad stuff about it. So I haven't been able to bring myself to pop it in other than to update it. But it's more of the same. It's an open world game. It just takes place, I do believe, in the 60s. It's like the first one took place in the 50s. I think this one the second movie took place in part of it took place like in the 30s, and then the other part took place in the 60s. So it was part prequel, part sequel. But I think this one is just all about the sequel stuff. And I just haven't gotten around to playing it because, like I said, I hear so much bad stuff about it. I just never felt the need. Let's see what's going on. The first Godfather game is freaking great. It was. I loved it. God of War 2 is the boobs. I think God of War 1 is the one where you have the sex simulation that got Captain Algebra booted off of YouTube for one of his streams. I remember I was watching it, and then all of a sudden the stream cut out. And I was like, oh, they caught him. Can we get a new Indiana Jones game that's similar to Uncharted? I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Terminator Resistance is super underrated. I agree. They've released that like 3 different times. You're late to the God of War party. Only played the first 2 on PS2. See, there you go. Me and you, J-Chip. God of War 2, yes. We still good, but man, you need to play God of War 1, 2, 3, maybe leave out Ascension. The first Godfather game is great. Started dressing like my character in real life. Never knew Godfather 2 had a game. It does. Like, I remember the reviews being pretty bad. And then friends of mine who had played it were like, yeah, if you expect in the first game just, better, no. They're like, no. Call of Duty can't read Roman numerals either. Call of Duty Black Ops. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, what the hell? I remember I saw that and I was like, wow, they are really not trying anymore, are they? But anyway, so that's it for part 1 of my... Oh, no, I do have one more game to talk about. I should have added this in earlier. I keep forgetting. I have all this stuff. Like I said, I have so much stuff placed around me that has to do with the PS3. This one last thing I'm going to talk about, though, is this gigantic set that I have not opened because I have absolutely zero intention of playing this ever again. I bought this on day 1. I thought it was a really cool idea. I played it once at my house, and I was like, it's all right. Like, all the hoopla and all the things that you can do with this, and like, this is what it is? Really? This is it? I'm like, all right. And then I was playing Dungeons & Dragons with a bunch of friends back then, and I went to our DM's house for a game, and he's like, check out this new toy I got. And it's this. And he's like, look how awesome it is. We're going to play one real quick. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I played it, and he's like losing his mind over it, and I'm just kind of going, yep. Yeah. That is the Eye of Judgment. So I found this at Savers, which for most people outside of Illinois is called Value Village. Secondhand store, kind of like Salvation Army or Goodwill. I walked in there and they had the complete one of this. Like I said, I bought this on day 1, and what it is you got your game here. It comes with one of the PlayStation Eye cameras and a deck of cards. So you take the camera, you set it up, and you have to aim it at the floor. I don't remember. This comes with, I think, a stand for the camera. And you're supposed to like stand it up and aim it at like a tabletop or the floor or whatever. And the camera, like when you pop the game in, it creates this grid that looks like a tic-tac-toe board. It's like 3 spaces across and in 3 different rows. You have these cards that have like I guess an early version of a QR code kind of hidden in the image, and they look like magic cards. And each card will trigger something in the camera so that it works like augmented reality. So you're trying to... You have cards that have values. Some are worth 1, some are worth 2, some are worth 3, whatever. You start off with the real low-level ones. You'll put like a level 1 card down in one of the spots, and that card will get scanned by the camera, and there's an animation that is built into the game for all these different cards. So you pull like down this red dragon card. You'll see a red dragon come out of the card and go blah, blah. You put another card next to it that's a higher value. That one will kill you put a value 2 card next to a value 1 card. The value 2 card will kill the card that's value 1. and you'll see that card's animation come on, go bah, and destroy the card, and then you have to take that card off the table. It's like playing Magic. It's just not fun though, and it's the whole like thing about this that made it appealing was these animation things and this augmented reality experiment thing that they did with it, and it's not impressive. They started selling the cards in like booster packs outside of this pack with more cards, more animations and stuff, and it was just like, yay. Pete Dorr said he got like super into this, and he was like always going out and buying booster packs, and he was playing this online with his friends and all that. I was like, I never played it past like the 2 times I played it, and I put it away, and I don't think I actually sold it back in the day. I never had it again until I bought this, and I'm never opening it because I have absolutely zero intention of ever playing this again, but it is really cool to have because it was kind of a cool idea. Like I said at the beginning, it just doesn't work very well, and it's not fun. As much as I'm not a big fan of Magic the Gathering, I would rather play Magic the Gathering over that any day. PS3 and PS3 wanted to ham on crazy special editions. Yeah, they did. Go to Savers every now and then. We don't have any more. Well, no, there is a Savers around here, but it's really far away. And every time I go in there, they have absolutely nothing in the way of video games. It's just nothing but If you're a VHS collector, go to Schaumburg, Illinois, to the Savers there because you will find some stuff. If you're looking for video games, you are going to be SOL every single time. Yeah, it was ahead of its time for sure. See, I'm surprised they didn't try to license Magic the Gathering and do something like that because that might have gotten more eyes on it. But the thing is, it's not fun. That's the whole problem. It's like it's a cool idea. You can kind of see it here on the front. You got like you can see the grid, the 3 by like the 9 squares or whatever that you can play in. And then down here is like a close-up of like the animations coming out of the cards and the kind of stuff you're supposed to see, but you really don't. It was a cool idea, just didn't work out. And they never went past that with anything else. I think the only thing that uses the camera is the Move controllers. They had to find another use for that thing because they spent all that time developing that camera. Got to find something to use it for that's not that. So outside now with that done, I am done. So that is it for episode 1. This is the longest stream I've done in a long time. 2 hours and 15 minutes. Holy crap. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with another short. I'm going to record a bunch of new ones tonight when I'm done with this. A bunch of new style ones, too. I was talking about it last week, I think. I'm going to start doing like movie reviews and stuff like that now that I don't have to be nothing but retro games and video game themed stuff. I can talk about anything I want now. So I'm doing some movie reviews and whatnot. And check that out probably around like noon or 1 o'clock tomorrow, Central Time. I'll definitely post about it on the social medias. Ooh, Tony Hawk Underground. Yay. Love the rebrand. Thank you. I was worried about it. And the funny thing is, my videos have been definitely getting, at least my streams have definitely been getting more views. The 360 streams that I did, the second one didn't really do all that well, but the first and the third one, way more than most of my other streams. And more people showed up tonight than have showed up in a stream in a long time, which is awesome. I'm glad that I think that YouTube is actually promoting it a little bit because it doesn't have ass in the title anymore for my channel. So I guess I'm a little more kid-friendly until they actually watch the stream and I start dropping F-bombs. But yeah, Midlife Crisis Media seems to be working out better. So I will talk to you all next week when I do part 2 of the PlayStation 3 collection streams. And hopefully you'll check out my short tomorrow. So until then, Chris from Midlife Crisis Media calling it quits for the evening. Have a good night, everybody. Stay safe out there. I'll talk to you all later. Have a good night.